Welcome aboard. We're about to finish a trip across the United States entirely by rail, but
this train will be ending, and we can make arrangements to get you to your destinations.
things don't always go according to plan.
Hello, jet setters. After an epic journey for 48 hours on Amtrak's Empire Builder, it's time to hop on another train, this time for 24 hours to Washington, D.C. Join me. This is the Cardinal.
Our trip began in Seattle when we boarded Amtrak's Empire Builder for 48 hours. We enjoyed some of America's most breathtaking scenery along the way before we arrived in Chicago. But now, it's time to complete our rail journey across the continent to get home to Greensboro, North Carolina. Today, we'll leave Chicago for the 24-hour journey to Washington, D.C. We'll travel through the very heart of Appalachia and the Valley of Virginia to our nation's capital. From there, we'll spend 8 hours on the Carolinian for our final leg home to Greensboro. All in, that's 80 hours or more than 3 days across the country. At least that was the plan. Eastbound Amtrak trains tend to leave in the evening, which means we had most of the day to get some work done and enjoy the Windy City. Chicago is full of beautiful buildings, but perhaps none are as impressive and awe-inspiring as Chicago's Union Station. But the outside is nothing compared to what you'll see inside. We're back.
This cross-country trip continues now.
Let's check out the lounge.
We made our way through this massive hall to settle into Amtrak's Metropolitan lounge, which we could access as sleeper car passengers. There are complimentary snacks and non-alcoholic drinks. There's plenty of seating. There's also a bar with drinks for sale. But my favorite aspect of this lounge has to be the luggage storage, which makes it easier to leave and explore the station, which is exactly what we decided to do.
I love route maps, and this one here at the Chicago Union Station is one of the best. It highlights just about everything Amtrak does. It's awesome. We'll get dinner on the Cardinal, but there are plenty of options here in Union Station if you want to grab a bite before your train leaves or if you're booked into coach. In case you want to pick up some last-minute items before your trip, there's a convenience store in here as well. They also sell Amtrak paraphernalia, which is real nice.
Back in the lounge, we heard an announcement that our train was boarding, so we made our way out to the track.
Track 28, here we come.
We were booked into a new Viewliner 2 bedroom, so this will be a pretty nice trip, no doubt about that.
We're due out of here in about 15 minutes. It looks like we're on time. I hope I didn't just jinx us.
Spoiler alert, I did.
But getting settled in, this is a really comfortable space. Smaller than the room we were on in the Superliner on the Empire Builder. Certainly comfortable.
On our way, right on time.
We raced the Illinois Zephyr as it began its trip to Quincy. Spotty Wi-Fi was available on board as well.
Just placed our order for dinner and breakfast. We're gonna have dinner up in the cafe lounge. Check that out.
Trains on the East Coast still serve the COVID-era flexible dining menu. When we arrived in the cafe car, our food was already laid out and waiting for us. Now, this car remains closed to coach passengers until after sleeper car passengers have finished eating.
What do you have? Meatballs. Old school.
Passengers in sleeper accommodations also get one free alcoholic drink per trip. This cafe lounge car is a pretty comfortable place to sit. There are even plugs at each seat. Our sleeping car attendant absolutely insisted we try this butter cake, so we did.
Incredibly rich, but Delaware's finest.
You glad we're sharing?
I'm glad that we're sharing.
After dinner, we made our way back to our room.
So the Viewliner 2 bedroom is great in that you have more space than a roomette for sure, but it's tight. The squeeze in the door when the bed is down is incredibly tight. Would you agree?
Yeah, but I gotta say, it's very modern and fresh feeling compared to the Superliner. The Viewliner 2 has kind of these newer modern finishes. Really into it.
It's time to bring out the greener grass measuring tape.
The bottom bunk is 38 inches wide, is 68 inches long. That's 4 inches shorter than the bottom bunk on the Superliner. You'll have 35 inches of headroom down here. Up top, it's 26 inches wide, but 70 inches long. probably better to do these measurements when the train's not moving. Anyway, that's 36 inches of headroom up here.
Now, here's the real challenge. It's getting in and out of the room when the bed is down. Let me show you. It's about 2 inches to make it through there, and most people's legs are more than 2 inches. So you gotta sort of jump, leap, do a leaping motion to get in here. Just pulling out of our first stop in Dyer, Indiana, and that seems like a good time to put in a movie and just get ready for bed. Just gotten through Rensselaer, Indiana. I hope I'm saying that right. And that's where the train switches over to East Coast time. So we're a little closer to home, but I guess we'll finish this movie and then call it a night.
Suzanne decided the 2 nights she'd spent on the top bunk on her Empire Builder trip were enough, so I headed up this time.
This is my first time ever sleeping in the top bunk of an Amtrak bedroom. I'm really grateful to be in a Viewliner too because there's so much more headroom than in the Superliner. This is, I can actually sit up all the way, which is nice. But hey, look.
And the windows.
Got the windows as well.
I really liked this grab bar because it made it easy to hang my bag, and the light controls and air vents were also nice. But there are no plugs up here.
It's quite a view from up here. I'll give you the full report in the morning, but for now, it's time for bed.
We slept through Indiana and much of Ohio with no idea of what was coming today.
Good morning. We just left the Portsmouth South Shore station. Next up is Ashland, Kentucky. And I was a little nervous about sleeping up here on this top bunk, but it was actually really comfortable. It was more spacious than I thought. It's really nice to have a thermostat in the room so we were able to keep the temperature exactly what we wanted. Coffee should be out there in just a little bit. I'll grab some of that, and then it'll be time for breakfast. And then the real fun starts. The views through this part of the country are going to be spectacular today. I just know it.
The full moon offered a little bit of light, but the real excitement would come after sunrise when the mountains and valleys and rivers of West Virginia would be in full view, or so I thought.
Well, just got some unfortunate news on my phone. Got an alert that we're going to hold at Huntington, West Virginia, which I think is our next stop, while we wait for a disabled freight train on the line ahead of us. Not sure how long that will be, but it's where we are right now.
About 20 minutes later, my phone rang.
I just got a call from Amtrak. It looks like the train is now terminating in Huntington, West Virginia. I guess that means they'll put us on a coach of some kind the rest of the way.
And a few minutes later, the conductor came on and made an announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're passing into West Virginia right now. Huntington, West Virginia is approximately 10 minutes away. There has been a landslide and a freight train derailment at a location between Huntington and Charlottesville. We do apologize for the inconvenience, ladies and gentlemen, but the good news is that it didn't happen to us, one, and that we can make arrangements to get you to your destinations.
Well, that's unfortunate news, but as the conductor said, it's hopefully everybody's safe, and it's very fortunate that it's not our train.
On the final stretch into Huntington, the crew brought breakfast, and we made a new plan. But first, I had to admire my wife's ingenuity.
Some of you may know Suzanne is an engineer, which is why she was able to effectively eliminate the rattle in our room thanks to her design work right here. So practical. Sometimes a plan doesn't come together. Now, unfortunately, the train is ending here in Huntington. Amtrak has arranged for buses to take passengers the rest of their way, I guess all the way up through to New York for some passengers. We're ultimately headed to Greensboro, North Carolina, so our plan was to take this train up to D.C., hop on the Carolinian down to Greensboro. That doesn't make sense anymore because we're pretty close to home at this point. So we're going to skip out on the buses, grab a rental car, and drive the rest of the way. I hope you'll join us for a road trip. It's our first time doing that, so let's give it a go.
After telling the conductor we'd be leaving, we called a cab and made our way to the airport to pick up a rental car. Seeing the train just sitting there was sad. The road trip from Huntington to Greensboro should take about 4 hours and 45 minutes. It sounds a lot better to us right now than waiting for the bus for an unknown amount of time and then facing the 6+ hour bus ride to DC. But we continued to receive updates throughout the day, and just you wait. This delay got a lot worse than we could have ever imagined.
We're just going to grab this car and go.
Home for the next 5 or 6 hours?
At least it's bird friendly, I guess.
This whole situation is in no way Amtrak's fault, but I think it's the kind of thing that you need to count on if you're gonna ride on Amtrak. Like, the delays are gonna be in terms of multiple hours, potentially even up to a day. Just, those are the kinds of situations you need to be prepared for, because anything can really happen along the route.
We just learned a little bit more about why we're in this situation, and it really is very unfortunate. There was a derailment on the tracks ahead of us, and unfortunately there were some injuries. The engineer, the conductor were both injured pretty seriously. It just makes us feel a degree of gratitude for all of the hardworking professionals in the railroad industry who keep us as safe as possible. And we certainly wish those two folks a speedy recovery.
Despite leaving, we continued to get alerts about the train situation. About noon, we received one saying that buses were on their way. That's 5 hours after arriving in Huntington.
I was really excited about crossing the entire country from Seattle all the way home to Greensboro on the rails, and we got so close, but safety trumps everything. I'm not gonna lie, I'm bummed about this.
We got pretty close to accomplishing our goal of crossing the country by train, and then didn't quite make it. And I also feel like now we're gonna have to try it again another time.
What's the best way to cross the country on Amtrak? Which routes do you think we should use when we try this again? Because we are going to try it again.
Just curious, what are your general feelings about road trips?
I hate driving. There is nothing, honestly, I love moving and transportation. I despise driving.
So why didn't you wait for the bus?
The only thing I hate more than driving is waiting. And look, we understood, another passenger talked to the conductor, the last time that happened, they had to wait 6 hours for the buses. I guess maybe they come from Washington or something. And the idea of just sitting on the train for 6 hours to face their 6-hour bus ride, it's just so much faster. We're hopping in the car. We'll be home in like 4 hours, 5 hours. So this is just a better deal. I was really looking forward to that beef short rib on the menu in Amtrak, but Chick-fil-A I'll have to do.
About 2 o'clock, we received another alert that the buses had canceled their trip and that, quite ominously, all available resources had been exhausted. And that wasn't the last, or even the worst one we'd get today.
Right out there is the great state of North Carolina. We're making progress on this trip. I'm very excited about getting out of this car. As nice as this Nissan Rogue is, I just don't like to drive. That is Pilot Mountain, which has been used for centuries as a guidepost for navigating around this area. It's a really cool, beautiful mountain here in my part of North Carolina, the Piedmont Triad region of North Carolina.
At 4:30, 9.5 hours after stopping in Huntington, a final alert came through saying the train would return to Chicago and passengers would be delivered to their point of departure. And Amtrak provided a complete refund of our fare.
Just dropped off the rental car here at PTI at Greensboro Airport. Getting into our car and headed home. Should be there in just a few minutes.
Home sweet home.
Between now and the next time, see ya on the road.
Let's see, I don't know what to say.
Let's get going here. Just reaching Dyer, Illinois. Dyer, Illinois, not Indiana. Yeah. Just reaching our
It's
first.
Indiana.
Welcome to Washington, D.C. Just. I always thought it was dance all day.